So Beacon Hill Friends House, I find that it's a little bit hard to describe.
Beacon Hill Friends House is a Quaker center and intentional community founded in 1957 to be a place where people could come together to live, to worship, and to learn. And so our mission at Beacon Hill Friends House is to embody the Quaker values of faith, simplicity, integrity, community, and social responsibility in order to nurture and call forth the light in all of us. We do that by providing an intentional living community for up to 21 people, adults, to live according to Quaker values.
The Friends House also is host to our local Quaker congregation, the Beacon Hill Friends Meeting. And we also have community space available to rent for organizers and
Activism and community meetings and concerts and dancing and all kinds of things that help keep our lives vibrant.
It's a place where people come together not to try to be alike, but they come with their differences and learn how to live together as completely different types of people.
Residency here is not anyone's permanent home, but a place where you can have this transformative moment in your life to live in intentional community, kind of like a laboratory or explorative in nature. And we've been doing that model ever since we were founded. This building was built in 1804 originally as two separate family homes. We're one of the oldest buildings in Beacon Hill, which is a historic neighborhood of Boston. In 1921, the Green family, who owned side 6, bought side 8 and converted it into one large building. John Green, he had a vision for creating a space in an urban area that was a Quaker center. So he had visited Woodbrook and Pendle Hill and other Quaker centers and really wanted a place where people could live and that they would not necessarily study Quakerism, but that they would study other things and come together and learn about Quaker values and Quaker leadership in order to increase the leadership of the Society of Friends. Friends felt really drawn to the vision of what this place could become. And so the place was initially John Green's idea, but really fully became held corporately by this group of friends with this leading to turn it into what it is today.
as a house and a community, we are committed to kind of being guided by Quaker values and Quaker principles, and that means so many different things to so many different people: truth and faith, and seeing the light of God in everyone. Environmental stewardship, equity, kind of all these things that generally I feel like most people want to aspire to or reach for like a more just and equitable and kind world. So it kind of almost has always felt like a bit of a homecoming.
Beacon Hill Friends House is as much a thing one does as a place one lives. We want to foster community and social responsibility and nurture people's spiritual lives and their faith and what that means for them. The parts that I love of our mission statement are not the list of values, but the language to embody them and to nurture and call forth the light in all of us.
In terms of values, we have a lot of values at Beacon Hill Friends House. We value privacy, but privacy is kind of hard sometimes with living with 20 people. We value efficiency, but what is efficient to one person is not efficient to another person. We value kindness, but sometimes we have to say things that don't feel kind. And values are like the clothes that you wear. They change with the seasons. They change when it gets hot outside. They change again when it gets cold. But core values are like your skin. That if that changes, it fundamentally changes who you are. So we have a lot of values, but the core values are community and safety. They are the Quaker values that kind of shape how we do things. The silence before a meal, or the Quaker process in conflict resolution.
At the end of our staff meetings, we have a regular practice of asking what is Quaker in the work that we do. The way we end up answering that question is less like, well, faith in our mission statement means that we explore spiritual practices with our residents, and more in a small moment of kindness we witness between residents that our organization makes possible. It could be a moment where we might soften in a heated moment of conflict because we're really more focused on the care for the other person than the thing we're in conflict about.
I am more centered as a person, and I'm more willing to face the hard truths and have the hard conversations because we have learned how to speak to each other in holistic and more gentle ways, thinking into a place where just kind of by the scaffolding institutionally, that the expectation is that you approach things with integrity, but to also honor that what is best for the group may not be what is best for you, in ways that it's such an amazing counter-cultural experiment of people intentionally choosing to live and commune with each other and relate to each other on these deeper levels that most people just don't get. I have grown so much as a person just by virtue of being in that world, and I feel like it's made me kinder and more centered in my feelings and a better listener. And I think generally just kind of the person I want to be in the world.
The way that those values show up in our daily lives is learning to take a breath, to soften that moment, to transform it into a way that we can get closer together rather than farther apart. That's what we're trying to do here. And we see that those small moments are the ones that add up into what relationship with each other looks like.
Being a trans person coming into a space like Beacon Hill Friends House, it matters that one of the core values are honoring someone's identity in all of the ways that honoring shows up. And you can just exhale here.
Other places I see those values at play are in our relationship with Boston and the surrounding neighborhood. We offer our space on a sliding scale to community groups, because part of that for me is stewardship and social responsibility. How can we make our building used and useful in our community for the purposes of social good and for the purposes of building the beloved community and manifesting that here? What does it look like to seek justice and love mercy? And what are the groups that are doing that work in our city, in our area? And how can we help make that possible for them? Our residents are not required to be Quaker. Ernest Vitti used to say we're not trying to Quakerize anybody here, but we offer Quakerism and Quaker practices as ways that people can enter into what their own inner teacher has to teach them. And if that's becoming Quaker, which it has been for a number of residents, that's really great. We have ways of connecting you to Quaker community here. If that's understanding and waiting worship that you're drawn to a different religious tradition, if it means that you're drawn to no religious tradition, that's also fine. Our residents tend to be spiritual people, but what that means for them is for them to define. And that's part of what nurturing and calling forth the light in all of us means to me.
Beacon Hill Friends House is not a perfect community, but it's refreshing to know that a community doesn't have to be perfect to be transformational. Many people who come to Beacon Hill Friends House are looking for an affordable place to live. And they really couldn't care less about the wonderful benefits of being here in this place at this time. They just need a place to go. They can come here and discover that in their lowest moments of need and isolation, they come here and they find a community that helps them push through those layers of dirt and reach for the sky and become someone they didn't even know existed. The history of Beacon Hill Friends House is full of stories just like that.
Thank you for watching this episode of QuakerSpeak. If you like this episode, please leave a comment and a thumbs up so we can reach even more friends. For more videos, click this playlist here. To subscribe to QuakerSpeak, click this here. And to support us, click here. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday.